Saltwire Network, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You're filthy hypocrites. David Menzies for Rebel News here in Ottawa. And folks, before I get into my story, please, if you can, make a donation to journalistdefensefund.com. We try to bring you the other side of the story, but there are forces afoot that don't want us to do that. So we need to hire security sometimes. So if you can make a donation, that is greatly appreciative. Now, folks, do you think the Canadian flag is something to apologize for? Well, that's the vibe I get from certain newspapers published by Saltwire Network, such as the St. John's Telegram and the Halifax Chronicle Herald. You see, several days ago, they printed some Canadian flags in their newspaper for people to display in their cars, their windows, and whatnot, but they published an absolutely inexplicable, disclaimer on the front page, and this is how it read. On page B12, you'll find a Canadian flag to clip and post to help celebrate July 1st. We understand the flag doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. However, we hope our readers recognize their ability to play a role in shaping Canada's future is a freedom worth acknowledging. Now, for starters, folks, I don't even know what that baffle gab means. I've read it over 4 times, but to me, it sounds like what I said earlier, at best, a disclaimer, at worst, an outright apology for the Canadian flag. I mean, it's inexplicable. July 1st should be a day in which everyone is brought together in terms of celebrating this nation's birthday. And this company thinks that, the Canadian flag is triggering to certain individuals that actually live in Canada. Bizarre. But 2 points spring to mind. For example, in June, that was Pride Month. If the Chronicle Herald and the Telegram published a LGBTQ rainbow flag in their newspapers, would they put a disclaimer like that on the front page too? Because I would suggest if they did that, they would be hauled in front of some human rights tribunal and charged with, homophobia, transphobia, you name it. And secondly, folks, don't you think it's a little rich that this company, Saltwire, is so awkward feeling about publishing the Canadian flag, but has no hesitation from taking money from the Canadian government as part of the media bailout so that they can continue their existence, because obviously their business plan doesn't make sense unless they get taxpayer-funded welfare. Yeah, so the Canadian flag, something to disclaim, something to apologize for, but free Canadian money via the taxpayer, that's just jolly good. I think this is one of the most despicable incidents in terms of the woke culture that is running amok in Canada today. And Saltwire Network, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You're filthy hypocrites. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Please, if you can, make a donation to journalistdefensefund.com. We try to bring you the other side of the story, but there are forces afoot that don't want us to do that. So we need to hire security sometimes. So if you can make a donation, that is greatly appreciative.